Testing 1 2.
But anyway, all right. Let's just pretend it was 5 years ago. I'd rather pretend it was 15 than 5.
Oh, howdy.
Anyway, I watched this video yesterday.
Yo,
Yo, what's poppin'?
I was just listening to that talk with you and Seb and Dragon.
Oh yeah, we're just talking about like my romance life and random shit like that.
No, I got to the part where you guys were talking about the girl who killed her dad. I got to that part.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm on page with you. It's just like, yeah, if it's revenge, it's kind of, because my thoughts are, if I listened to that court case. He sent me the link before the response video where he was yelling at me to kill myself during my thank you video. He sent me the link to the court video, and I watched it, and there was no mention of her being molested, and it wasn't revenge, and she cried for 20 minutes, like he said, and I'm like, so if the dad was a pedophile, it would just end up with him being killed in prison by other inmates anyway. You know what I mean? That's what they do to pedophiles in prison. So it's just like, well, why cut out the middleman and get the revenge yourself? It doesn't make any sense to go through the whole bureaucratic red tape judicial system anyway. But yeah, she got 1 year time served and 5 years probation. So yeah.
Oh, it's not as bad as he made it sound. He made it sound like she got like almost life or some shit.
Yeah, he changes the context and he changes like the narrative of the whole thing, and like his response video to me, his first one, and I don't want to spend too much time talking about this guy because we're giving him too much fucking not credit but attention. Yeah, it's just like his video. It's like I don't know what I like. He said he's been watching me for a year and he got all this information wrong, and talking about like glib and slander. And my fucking response video is 3 parts and it was like an hour and a half or 2 hours. So I don't know. It's just this guy doesn't deserve to have any time or attention. And it's weird, because like if we were in his shoes, we would be acting the same way. If we lived that guy's life, we would just be the same way. So I don't understand the thought process of like why he targeted the channels he targeted. And it's like Amendum hasn't fucking done anything wrong, not that I'm aware of. And Do Not Watch, and then there's a couple other channels, and like I don't know, the veganism thing. Like I thought you were vegan. I didn't know you hunted or fished, and I respect vegans, even though I'm not a vegan. Because I it's just it's hard.
Yeah, I was vegan for about like 5 months, and then I was like, wait a minute, it's probably even more ethical to get your protein sources by hunting because these animals are going to die no matter what, and they're going to reproduce and stuff in the wild. So it's like you're better off like preventing.
Seems like it's like the ethical futility, like the ethical catch-22 kind of thing, where it's like
exactly.
you're going to be hurting something no matter what you do. It's like your vegetables and shit probably still has slave labor attached to it. So I don't know, but did you write down the conversation topics that we were going to talk about, or do you remember them? I said like warfare, conspiracy theories, war on drugs,
the
giants, and then flat Earth versus fake space. Like space isn't real, and fake nuclear weapons and stuff. So stuff like that. But
Yeah, what's your opinion on the fake nuclear weapons thing? Because I believe nuclear weapons exist because we have like nuclear power plants and stuff like that.
well, see,
Yeah.
that's a distinction. I think that nuclear power plants, like, I mean, I haven't seen them in real life. Again, so like only viewing things in person versus looking at things on the screen. And if it's on the screen, it can be hoaxed. You know, it's possible to hoax something if it's on a digital screen. And but the plausibility, like the plausibility of nuclear power reactors, it's like, okay, that makes sense. But like, have you heard of the French philosopher? I forgot his name. Not Albert Camus, not the existentialist. It's Beauregard, the guy who wrote Simulacra and Simulation. It's this book called Simulacra and Simulation, and it talks about nuclear weapons and nuclear proliferation and the Cold War and stuff as examples. But the idea, and I can tie this into another thing with fighting games, like your greatest weapon is your greatest threat. So the idea of nuclear weapons is just as, if not more powerful potentially than actually having the nuclear warheads exist. Because people think they exist. And so we have this Cold War tension of nuclear apocalypse and nuclear warfare, but they don't even need to exist because people are scared just as if they already do exist. So it's just like, the idea is having the results without the actual thing existing, kind of thing.
Yeah, it just seems weird that like so many countries would like invest in nuclear arsenals or like supposedly invest in nuclear arsenals.
But that would be the nuclear arsenal propaganda. So that it would just be like these things that make it look like they have nuclear warheads and arsenals, but that's just like the propaganda, you know? It's just like you see the missiles on the trailer, but they're just like garbage cans with nothing in it, you know? So it's like it's the image that has the effect on the populations because they're not thinking critically.
Yeah, but like why would North Korea make it seem like they have like such outdated weapons in comparison to us if they could just make themselves seem like they have like, you know, just the same shit, you know?
Well, there's like the echelon or the hierarchy of political power, and like having nuclear warheads means you're a big boy. You know what I mean? So like when you have nuclear warheads, okay, you're on the world stage of having the biggest dick as a country. It's essentially like a dick measuring contest. Like, okay, they have nuclear warheads. We'll take them a threat. We'll take them as a threat now. But it's like just the potential of the idea. It's like if the country is known to have nuclear warheads, that's just as the same as if they didn't, if people take it seriously. So it's like bluffing, like poker, like, oh, I have a flush or a straight hand or whatever. But it's like you're calling the bluff. It's like you can't afford to call the bluff in a nuclear arms race scenario because we're talking about nuclear war. So it's different because the chips you're gambling with are population centers, you know?
Yeah. I mean, is there any like hard evidence that people have against like nuclear weapons existing, or is it more just like the fact that no one really has like proof per se?
Well, I mean, the evidence for it, the evidence for nuclear weapons existing, are all the bomb tests and all the footage of the testing footage of the explosions happening. But again, those are on screen; those happen on film, and so that could be Hollywood magic into being able. Because like if the moon landing, to change that, like, not to change topics, but if the moon landing is hoaxable, then also nuclear weapons or atomic weapons are hoaxable. But then taking it off of the screen, we have the Hiroshima bombing and Nagasaki. But we all know, or people should know, that the winner of the war is the one who writes the history books. So again, the history book says that America, what is it? Roosevelt, or which president dropped the bombs? It was Eisenhower. It wasn't Eisenhower. It was, I forgot. See, but it's like it's what we're taught as kids, is that the weapons were dropped and they were used, and there's the footage of them and everything and all of these things. So the idea is real, that they were used, but we weren't there. And then there's all of the fiction, like the films that are actually documentary, and then there's like the fictional universes, like Godzilla is a result of nuclear radiation and all that. So like one idea, even if it's not based in reality, has ripple effects that actually do create things that are in reality. Like Godzilla isn't real, but Godzilla exists as an intellectual property because of the idea of nuclear weapons existing. So you can't have Godzilla without World War II, right? And if the nuclear weapons don't actually exist physically, but just idealistically, like as a concept, we still end up with Godzilla and Cloverfield, you know?
I guess the most interesting thing I've heard regarding nuclear weapons is like when you see all the videos of the nuclear weapons being dropped, like we know that radiation affects how images process and stuff of that nature.
That's true, yeah.
And we know that like there should be like a lot of like shaking like occurring from the shockwave, but there's never like a lot of that in the footage.
You could pull up, you're on your computer, right? You can pull up one of the tests. So if you pull it up, I can explain what my theory is. See, I don't have any hard evidence, but like I'm just using like my logic and intuition. But again, I haven't seen these things in person, but just looking at like the phone and like thinking like a military tyrant or an overlord, like the idea is more powerful as a weapon. It's like the idea of the pen is mightier than the sword. So like you just need to get the people to believe that the weapon is real for the weapon to have its effect. Like your greatest weapon is your greatest threat. And once you use it and reveal your hand, it's not able to be done again. But like people alive, like how many people alive right now have actually seen nuclear weapons or atomic weapons being used, but they believe it's real? No one's been to space as a civilian, but we all everyone takes it for granted. You know what I mean? So it's like the idea of like believing in the idea, even though there's I can't do the tests. I don't have access to the materials to perform the experiments myself. But the idea of like the logic of it is that, okay, well, we need to have a super weapon. We need to have the super weapon to be able to control the populations, but we don't actually know how to make the super weapon, but we can make it look like we have it. So what we can do is we'll make a fucking like a Hollywood film production to show that we have a super weapon that doesn't actually exist. And so I'm repeating myself, but yeah, that's pretty much the idea. It's like info war, mimetic warfare, like information warfare. Like the ideas are like, you know, a gun is in your hand when you have the gun, right? And so it's just like the idea of information hazards or cognito hazards, you know, like I don't think racism really exists anymore in person. You know what I mean? Like I have no problem with people of different color or different nationalities, but for some reason Hollywood and the media is pushing this idea of representation, inclusivity, and racism and a division between races, even though it doesn't really seem like that in person to me.
I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I experience weird things where it's like there's not really racism, but it's like racial divide.
Tension.
Yeah, like I was Ubering a couple of days ago, and I was in like a the United tribe, and I was wearing one of my hippie garbs, so it looked like I was like kind of like almost like from a distance because it was nighttime. You could have been like, oh yeah, he's just a normal dude on the tribe, just on the res, you know. But when it comes down to it, I was driving them, and the people in the back, they had no clue. They couldn't see my face, but the person in the front, they could see my face, and they were like, the person in the front knew I was white, but the people in the back didn't. The people in the back, they started shit talking white people, and they were like, for some reason.
Oh wow!
And yeah, and I just drove them to the destination. But as they were getting out of the car,
they saw
lights,
your.
Yeah, the lights in the car open, and they're like, "Oh my god, you're a white boy," and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a white guy." And then they're like, "Oh, I thought you were a native boy." And then the mom's just like, "Nah, he's just a really chill white boy." And I'm like,
wow.
So,
That's really that's pretty awful. Like
Yeah.
that shows that people buy like when they think that there's like not their demographic that they hate. It's like, oh, there's no white people around. Let's shit talk white people. And it's like hating people for their skin color, or their politics. It's just like, you know what I mean? It's not going away. Hate is part of the human condition, and it's like it's got to be really shitty to be a racist. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like I hate pedophiles, and I hate parents, and I hate police officers. And it's like those can all be whatever skin color they fucking. It doesn't matter. But like hating someone because they're a different color is just so fucking stupid.
Yeah, it's just like an arbitrary line. Like it's just like why. Like I understand why you hate like those three categories because they impose suffering on other people, and they're like, well, they're authority figures to impose unnecessary suffering upon minorities. So it's just like all those things are justified to hate them, but it's like when it comes to just like skin color or like I don't know ideology or something, it's just like why are people just like so vehemently angry at each other, especially with something like as arbitrary as like skin color. Ideology, I guess, is a little bit more different. I guess I can understand people hating each other for ideology. Like I dislike Republicans most of the time for being Republicans. I mean, I have some Republican friends, but like they get on my nerves a fuck ton. So
Yeah, I mean, being an anarchist, I'm kind of against the whole political spectrum or compass as a whole thing. Like libertarian, traditional, conservative, Republic, Democrat, centrist. It's just like I'm about like absolute freedom. You know what I mean? But under the umbrella of natural moral law. So like if someone fucks with you, you're perfectly within your right to fuck with them back. And there's no police force or judicial system. You know what I mean? There's no voting or leadership. It's people do what they want. Like there's a lot of talk lately about like utopias and dystopias, but like I hardly ever encounter anyone who's actually read the book Utopia. You know what I mean? Like the book itself actually seems to work. Like the society that's set up in Utopia works. And I haven't read it in years, but you compare it to 1984 and Brave New World and all these other dystopian nightmares, and it's like governments are the problem. You know what I mean? Religion and governments are the problem. But there's always going to be a marketplace. So like that's kind of like what Ayn Rand was talking about, like the division between the government and the market, the marketplace and the government and the military. Like the military in my world should defend the borders, right? And in my world, it's just Earth versus other planets. So we should have like a united Earth Defense Force. And then there's free market, but then there's no government, right? So there's like the independent free market, private property, the Earth Defense Force, but then there's just like individual towns and communities all working together, you know, and there's still an economy, a system of trade with money and tax. And if someone does something to you wrong, it's up to the individual to decide what they do in retaliation or not, you know.
what about those who lack power enough to like actually defend themselves?
Then they're going to have to gain power. Like that's like that would be the incentive, is to make oneself more powerful. If they understand the situation and the hierarchy, it's like you don't want to be exploited, but the only way to not to be exploited by the people who have power who are immoral would be to obtain power and only use it for self-defense. So, you know what I mean? And then there'd be like people who like would form like independent groups, and like the idea that there's no leadership, there's no political leadership, but leadership does have a place in the military. You know what I mean? You don't want a free militia or a free unorganized military. You have to have a chain of command. But the civilian system, people don't really need to be told what to do if it's not in combat. But the civilian and military divide is distinctly different.
I mean, I can't help but like think that like there would be violence towards, like there's always been violence towards minorities. So I can't like help but think due to the fact that we're a minority position that like there would be violence towards us during like an anarchist type of society. Like right now, like I can go to the farmer's market and I can be protected by police officers and
But
like
that
the law in general.
the police
But
officers make you less powerful as an individual. Ayn Rand said the largest minority, which is like a contradiction paradox, the largest minority is the individual. And so if the police officers are keeping you safe, it means that you are being restrained in developing your individual power level. Like the strong and the weak, you know, the strong exploit the weak, but the weak, like if the police are the strong ones and they're keeping the weak safe from strong people who are not part of the police force, the police are like infantilizing the civilians. You know what I mean? Be it with working out and getting fit or arming themselves and getting guns and such. And it's like, I don't have a problem with violence. I really don't. It's just like, it depends on who the violence is being directed at. Like if it's like there's a guy and he's robbing some store, right? It's like that person is stupid, that person is lazy, and they're unintelligent. So, but the person who's being robbed is also stupid, unintelligent, and lazy because they're not developing their own power to defend themselves. You see how it's like the person robbing the person just wants the quick buck or the quick hamburger or food, and they have enough power to get the gun to use force against the person who has not the force to defend themselves. And so the police being this middleman of force keeps the people who are bad, who would use force, but it's like the police are holding the gun at everyone's head, telling them to be on their best behavior. So they're using force to keep people in check from developing their own power. Meanwhile, the police aren't getting any more powerful. The police and the military have a power cap that they can't go past.
I mean, I agree, but it also does seem to me that like power requires more power, and like we don't have the power, so it, like I don't know. It seems like maybe in like an ideal circumstances, yeah, but given the circumstances we're in now, it just I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, today's society where everyone is disconnected publicly, physically, but we're connected on our phones. But those are all like micro echo chambers of people just reverberating the same over again instead of actually doing anything in person because you can't trust anyone in person, unfortunately.
That's true.
Trust is a luxury. Trust is a luxury these days.
That's true.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
So what's your thoughts on giants?
Because
I know at one point you believed in giants. I'm not sure if you still do.
did I mention that in a video, or did I talk to you about that?
I think you briefly mentioned something about the Nephilim or something. I don't know like where it was, but I think you might have mentioned it in a video.
I don't remember. I think I talk about the Nephilim, but I don't think I believe in them. Like as a concept, again, back to the idea that the concept exists, which is in the Platonic sense, the Platonic ideal of the Nephilim exists, but physical evidence can be fabricated and manufactured to make the people believe it. So like the Nephilim can just be the same thing as the nuclear weapons. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah. So like dealing with the abstract like concepts and like the tangibility of it being physical, it's like Have you heard of the series, the anime series, either the American version Robotech or the Japanese version Macross?
No, I haven't.
All right, well, a quick synopsis is that in the early 1990s or early 2000s, and the series is like made in the 80s. So those time periods are the future when the series was made, but now it's like old compared to our time now. So during the 1990s, during the 2000s, there was a global world war. And then during the conflict, a derelict, unmanned, or like uncrewed giant spacecraft the size of like New York City crashed on Earth, and it revealed the existence of future potential aliens. Like aliens are out there in the universe. So World War III ended on the whole planet, and every nation put all their resources and scientists to re-engineering the spaceship, but they figured out that the aliens who piloted the spaceship were giants, right? But there was no one on board. So they re-engineered the spaceship to modern humans' specifics and specifications. And they also developed mobile suits. They're not called mobile suits in the show. They're called Veritechs. But in preparation for a war against aliens who were giants, the humans had to develop giant robots to be able to fight the giants. And so in the beginning of the show, an alien armada arrives in Earth's orbit and is looking for the crashed ship because the ship has this last piece of ancient super advanced technology they're looking for. And then the ship has an automatic booby trap defense system where when it detects an enemy fleet, it automatically launches its main guns, and that starts the first Robotech or the first intergalactic war in this universe. But they're giants, but they look like humans. They still look humanoid, like they're anthropomorphic, like bipedal, male, female, and all that. But they're just 50 feet tall, like the size of the buildings, and giant robots. And so there's that whole idea. And so like them being aliens or like fallen angels who had earthling human male wives, and then like genetically created like the fallen angels or the angels who followed Lucifer, like had female human wives and their DNA spliced. That has a lot in common with the story of Robotech and Macross, because like it also the story of Macross and Robotech brings in Atlantis and like ancient human civilization and like advanced civilizations in the future. And the giants in the Robotech universe are segregated by gender. And there's two different continuities. There's the TV series where there's the Zentradi and the Femtradi. The Zentradi are the men, and the Femtradi are the women, and they're segregated, but they both work for the same masters who are pulling their strings looking for the lost ship on Earth. But in the film, there's a sex war between the female giants and the male giants who are both looking independently for the ship on Earth. And the humans are in the middle of this war fighting both the females and the males at the same time. So the idea of the giants is like, it's compellingly interesting, but like I don't have any evidence or firsthand experience with it in real life, except in fiction, you know?
Okay. So you don't actually believe in giants. You just think it's like an interesting concept that would explain some things, but
I try not to believe anything. I don't like believing, you know? It's like I like you either want to know or you want to believe, you know? It's like believing you can be wrong. And it's like, and then Plato or Socrates, yeah, the only thing I know is I know nothing. It's like, well, you know, I know that my arm has been chopped off by a chainsaw and I know it hurts. I know I'm hungry. So like Socrates saying that all I know is I know nothing is pretty fucking, I forgot Blaise. I think Blaise is the one who said it. Blaise said that Socrates gave that to the plebeians as like pseudo fake philosophy, which is actually bullshit, just to like have them entertained with something that sounds deep, but it really isn't, you know? Because it's like when you're hungry, you know you're hungry. You know, when you're in pain, you know you're in pain. So those are the only thing you can really know is pain, and then pain alleviation. So yeah, but the idea of giants is, I don't believe them. I don't believe they exist, but they could. I believe they could. I believe they could exist. That's probably the extent I would get at.
No, it makes sense.
What do you think about flat Earth?
Flat Earth.
Yeah, you were talking about flat Earth. Rubbish or plausible?
I think it's.
Is it a psyop?
I think it's rubbish, but that's just because like even like Greek people from like way back in the day have like calculated from like the angle of the sun and stuff, like being like, oh yeah, the Earth has to be globular, like to some extent. So like when it comes down to it, like I don't know, like I've never done the experiments myself, but like given that like there are ways you can do it even without like being out of orbit, like I
Yeah.
believe
So,
that it's probably a round boy.
but that goes back to the idea of trust. It's like trusting the people who wrote the history books, who were the winners, and back to the idea of military world domination kind of thing. So like the idea of the globe Earth versus the idea of the flat Earth, you know, which has more military benefit?
That's true, but like when it comes to maps and stuff like that, they seem to work when it comes to the globular structure, but we don't really have anything.
I have a 2-hour flat Earth documentary. If you give me your email, I can send it to you.
Yeah, sure. I'll send you my
Yeah, send it on Messenger.
send messenger.
Yeah, it's a good 2-hour documentary, and it's pretty interesting. You know, it's like it's hard to argue the points that the person makes, but it's like, you know, the implications of that are like you know, pretty it changes the whole context of what actually is happening if it's flat, if we're in a snow globe, like, you know.
I mean, like, how what would be like the most different thing in your opinion if it was like flat Earth?
Well, I mean, that would mean that the militaries and the governments of the world knew, and that they were purposely covering it up on purpose to maintain the perceived order of the world for their own personal benefits. And also, whatever is outside of the said theoretical snow globe dome ceiling structure is aware of the situation of what's happening and choosing, since free will doesn't exist, they're choosing not to intervene with our situation.
Well, that makes
But
sense.
I do have an interesting idea that I don't hear talked about at all. I think I don't want to take credit for this, but I haven't heard it talked about anywhere else. This is a concept that is like about free will, but it's because like the whole free will thing is either like this dichotomy, right? Either people think they have free will or people think that they don't have free will. Like Sam Harris versus like whatever fucking Christians. You know, people with religion.
Jordan Peterson versus Sam.
Yeah, people like Jordan Peterson's a Christian. People who believe in that kind of stuff typically end up thinking that free will exists, while Sam Harris does not think free will exists at all. But my idea that I had a long time ago, or at least maybe a year ago, I was fucking high as fuck, smoking dope, and I was just like thinking, I was like, what if free will exists as a physical thing that's able to be harvested from individuals and extracted? And so some people have it while others don't. Like it's able to be removed from the genetic material of their body, being extracted, you know. It's just like making it a physical, corporeal thing and having an organization mining it and harvesting it like a physical resource for whatever purpose. Well, I can already think of multiple purposes for why that would be done, but just like having that as a concept is an interesting like jumping off point, you know? Because like to me, the people who think they have free will seem like they have the least amount of it, but people who don't have it seem to be like moving in a way that demonstrates there's more options available to the people who don't have it or think that they don't have it. While the Jordan Petersons and people who have faith claim that's a fucking intrinsic thing are obviously following some predetermined script. So it's like extracting it. What do you think?
I mean, I 100% agree with your observation that like it does seem that like even though I don't believe I have free will, it does seem that like I'm capable of making like more like broad decisions. Like I was originally Christian. I originally had like a really psychopathic views about the world where it's just like nothing matters and you can just
Nihilism.
like nihilism basically. So like when it comes down to it, like all these things have changed for me. So that's like a sign of like when people be like, yeah, that's what free will is, it's change. And all these people are just like never changing. They're just like staying in their beliefs that they've like been raised with, indoctrinated with.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's just like I don't know, like to me, free will is like what Sam Harris says, like, you know, being able to make different choices, like make a choice, like regardless of like I guess like if there was like an option to go this path or that path, you go both paths. But we know when you choose one, it like immediately closes off the other, and that the reason you chose that path to begin with is because of like your psychological makeup, which you have no control over.
Yeah.
And for me, it's just like I don't know, like that applies to everybody. Like everybody can't control their psychological makeup or their background or the fact that when you take one option, it closes off another. So it's like to me, no one has free will, no matter what. Like, but
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. I agree. I agree that free will doesn't exist, but I was just coming up with like a different like potential theory just for like uh the fun of talking about it, I guess, just like the fun of it, because there's no evidence for it. It's just something
yeah,
that sounds like something that would be fun to talk about. Because people talk about loosh energy all the time, like in the Gnostic communities, or like the siphoning of spiritual energy, and like they want to control people and make them miserable because they feed off of fear. So, like, what if it's just like replace those words with free will? You know what I mean? But there's no evidence for any of those things happening anyway. I mean, those
no,
are
I guess
very
I can see that. Yeah,
they're non-physical, like loosh, whatever that is, spiritual energy, emotional, negative, depression, and anger. It's like, you know, this is happening in a non-physical spectrum, but free will, it's like, how would you even prove that it did exist? So I guess it comes down to like the burden of proof. People want to prove free will exists, and like whenever I talk to someone and ask them about, well, prove free will exists, they'll always do like the funniest thing where they'll just like punch my shoulder. And it's like, that doesn't prove it. Like there's
I
like
mean,
the
yeah, but I guess
there's the,
it's almost like us trying to prove pain, though, right? Like that pain's bad, almost kind of in a way. Like,
yeah, but even that, it's like you could tie that into free will not existing. It's like, can you choose not to feel pain? You know, like, but then
true.
that it's like, can you choose not to feel pain? So that's like, no. I mean, can you choose not? It's like, what? I don't even know what the choice is. Like, you can't choose to wake up in the morning. You can't choose to hear what I'm saying. You can't choose if you understand it or not. Like, that's what Sam Harris's point is. Like, really, it's like you either understand what I'm saying or you don't. You know, it's just like,
No,
it's
I guess
weird.
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because like pain is just like it is what it is. Like pain is what it is. But like when
It's an automatic response.
yeah, and then like the me saying that with free will, it's just like no, it's a little bit different because like as I said, the psychological things, there are actual explanations for like why you did the thing with the punch. So
Yeah, but it's weird. It's just like, I don't know. You do. Yeah. What do you do now?
I was in a debate earlier today with a bunch like 10 different people in Discord call about the nature of pain and stuff, and they just kept on
Dude, 10 different people in one call sounds like it would be chaotic.
It was pretty chaotic, but they were like muting. Most people were on mute, and it was like 2 or 3 people talking at a time. So it was like actually fairly orderly, but
Okay.
at the same time, every single person was ganging up on me. Basically, like it was just like vegans and non-vegans, but all of them were just like being like, no, it's not suffering that matters, or like suffering matters, but so does consent, and all of them basically going to like the point of like for some reason they were saying that it justified, I guess, birth, and some were
It's
saying
weird, but
justified
it's weird when
marriage.
vegans don't understand the argument. It's like that.
It really is.
It's like I don't understand. It's like suffering is like what we're using to purchase everything with. You don't purchase things with pleasure. You purchase it with the pain. And it's like seeing it as the economic currency system. It's like, oh, this costs this much time, which is this much labor and this much like non-leisure time. It's like, I don't know, man. It's weird. It's like I definitely don't want it to be like that, but I can't really see a way where it's not like that.
Like I was trying to explain to them, like pleasure is basically just relief from suffering. But even if it's not relief from suffering, and pleasure is an actual phenomenon that like really occurs, like serotonin and dopamine are like a thing, I guess, and this thing really is like positive value, like truly is like a positive somehow, and I'm wrong about it just being climbing towards neutral. It still doesn't
I mean,
go.
Eminem argument of just being born into a position where you need those chemicals is like, you know what I mean? It's like I mean, we're not in a pleasurable, physical pleasurable state, but this is like an intellectual pleasure talking to you, right?
Yeah,
But it's like the fact that we have, or I have the desire or the need to engage with you at all. Like we're not just sitting there breathing oxygen and enjoying it, you know?
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
exactly. Like if we were, like
Existence isn't enough.
if we didn't have loneliness or some social need, or like a need to feel like justified of our positions or stances, like we could just be content with just breathing, and like we wouldn't do anything else. Like
Yeah.
there'd be no motivation to do anything else. And these people just can't get that through their head. Like they just are like, no, it's they couldn't understand the fact that like we do not have obligations to cause pleasure, but we do have obligations to prevent suffering when it's necessary, when it's like not unnecessary to do so or whatever. And these people just can't get it for their fucking heads. Like I was trying to explain to them just rationally without getting angry, and it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Like you basically get to the point where you're like basically like forced to like explain to them like, hey, if you want to fucking meet up with me, I'll beat the shit out of you and explain to you if my fists how pain's bad. Like
Yeah,
if
I
you
know. That's like the whole thing is like it's gonna come to violence. It's like if they don't understand the words, but it's like they don't want to fight. They don't actually want to fight physically.
like the mod basically banned me from the server because he was just like, yo, you're threatening violence and you're using very vulgar language. And I'm like, yeah, no shit, I'm using vulgar language because y'all want to dance around subjects like rape and violence and assault and this horrible fucking world we live in where we're just constantly just tearing your throats out just to steal each other's star energy and stuff. And it's just like, really cool, yeah, but that's like so violent. It's just like a PG-13. I'm like, this is not a PG-13. This is a philosophy chat with all adults in here. Like, you guys are just like trying to opt out and having a serious fucking conversation like adults by being like, "Ooh, PG-13." It's just like, oh my god.
Yeah, the problem, the censorship thing is really an issue. You know, it's like you can't get angry anymore. You can't curse, and it's weird. You know, it's like I think there's a place for anger. You know, there's definitely a place and time for anger. And it's like if you're angry at something, that means something is wrong. Something is either, and it's like, but this is not a personal issue with like a relationship. This is like an ethical issue. And so it seems like it's like it has like a justification for people to take this seriously enough to get angry at, you know?
You know what pisses me off even more though? It's just like people write books and they're actually taken seriously on the subject, but like I don't want to write a fucking book. Like if I wrote a book and spent like 1,000 pages writing like the visceral intensity of pain cannot be denied, just in like I wrote it out like all poetically and bullshit, maybe people would actually take me seriously. But when it comes down to it, it's just like I'm just like sitting out here like cussing and shit, being like it's fucking obvious that if you jam a nail into your goddamn hand, it will hurt like a fucking bitch, and you will be like, "This fucking sucks," and I cannot deny this fucking sucks. And then people will just look at me straight dead in the eye and just be like, "Yeah, but like, how can you prove that it sucks?" And it's just like, I just want to
Yeah,
like
it's like
wrangle their
this.
fucking throat.
The subjectivity. It's like pain isn't subjective. It's like if it was happening to you, it wouldn't be subjective, bitch. You know?
It
It's
basically
like
they went up to
it's
me and were just like they were like, so wait, you trying to argue for objective morality? And I'm like, yeah, I'm arguing for objective morality. And they're like, but how? Do you believe in God or something? I'm like, why
you
does it
don't
matter if
need.
I believe in
Yeah,
God? Like,
it's like they have the idea is like, oh, you can't have objective morality without God. It's like no, it's like because of pain.
pretty much. It's like they thought like I'm like, so what? Like what if God existed? Like what like am I supposed to listen to the big man? It's just a different subject. Like what matters is like the visceral experience of subjects, which is pain and pleasure if pleasure exists. That's where objective value comes from, is the experience, not from some status of an experiencer that we call God. It's just
Yeah,
like
it's fucking weird because it's like it's nice to know that someone else gets it, that you get it. But the problem really is the people who don't get it, or at least that they say that they don't, or they're arguing that they don't. It's like they don't want to experience the bad things, but they're arguing that the bad things don't exist. And then the people who are like good and bad are just labels. Those are just labels that we create. I'm like, okay, so it's like essentially resistance is futile. Everything is going to be experienced regardless, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. And it's like labels have a function. I guess it's called functionalism, right? Like
yeah,
functionality. But I don't know what compatibilism is. Do you know what compatibilism is?
no, not really.
Yeah, I don't know what that one is. I have no idea what that one is. But it's like the truth is supposed to be a functional thing. You know what I mean? Man can't fly, so man invents the machine that can fly. You know what I mean? So it's like pain and pleasure. Those are like the fucking signals that something is either wrong or less wrong.
Yeah, I don't know if I can get it though. How you could explain the way that like makes people like get that all experiences break down these two phenomenon to me it's like really obvious that that's what it is. Like everything breaks down just into pain and pleasure, and that's what matters. But like there was some dude in the chat talking about like consent and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, but like
Well,
consent's not
yeah,
consent's not
consent.
really what matters, because like we have like children and stuff we
Well,
bring
no,
into
no,
the doctor.
you can't say that. You can't say consent doesn't matter because that's like they're gonna jump on that like sharks. They'll
Oh
jump on that
yeah.
like they'll jump on that.
Well, I said like it doesn't matter if it's like in and of itself, it's like instrumentally valuable, but like in and of itself, it's not, because like if you look at like
I guess it's inconsequential, right? It's like the experience is gonna happen regardless.
basically my example was basically like if you have like a child and you want to bring them to and they're sick or whatever, they have cancer or like just like a really bad fever, and you need to bring them to the doctor. Now the kid's scared of the doctor, as like a lot of kids are, but you understand it's in their best interest to bring them there to the doctor.
Yeah.
Now
What
it's
about
just like
the consent to being born, right? That's like the
yeah,
next jump. Yeah. So
this is like violating consent happens all the time, and it's just like certain cases is bad, certain cases is good, but the consent violation in and of itself is inherently wrong. It's the fact that there's pain that comes with it that makes it wrong. Uh, so it's just like I was trying to explain these people, and they don't get it. Like I don't get how to make people get it.
I guess it's like the thing is they're survivors, like right, like their psychology is at stake here. Like their view of the world is threatened. Their view of themselves is threatened. Their view of existence and the relationships between things is threatened. And so the denial is essentially just another survival mechanism. And like people like you and me, like the moral objectivists and ethicists, we're gonna die out. Like that's the weird thing is like morality is not going to survive, and that's kind of like the weird part is like that's why you see the world the way it is because people aren't moral.
Yeah.
Moral nihilism.
What's the book? Oryx and Crake. I just see the world going in that direction. Like
I don't
every
know that
single
book.
day.
I've never heard of that one.
It's a book about a main character who's this name they call him Snowman throughout the book. That's his name after the apocalypse. But it's basically a post-apocalyptic narrative about this guy who worked in advertising for this corporation that engineered basically this immortality pill.
Oh
But
gosh.
it turned out that like the guy who invented the immortality pill actually had a virus installed into the pill as well that like would activate after a certain number of months and basically just like cause everybody's organs just to melt out and just everybody just died.
Wow.
So when it comes to, so he basically just engineered the death of like the entire human race basically. Like he basically just spreaded immortality across the whole planet and then just like activated this disease that killed off everybody. But the reason he did that is because he wanted to like for dumb reasons he wanted to like restart evolution and all that
Oh my
bullshit.
gosh.
But
Okay. So
yeah,
it's like right there. It's like, oh, that sounds awesome. But then his motive is what makes it stupid.
basically. And so he set up like a new generation of like humans like in a lab, which like so that they would have like biological urges like baboons and stuff like that, so they'll have like mating signals and stuff, so that would be no such thing as rape and a bunch of stuff like that, which is better than our current situation, but doesn't really solve like the
Animals
existential
animals
suffering.
rape each other all the time.
Yeah, exactly. But like he was just like, oh, they would like have like mating rituals and stuff like that to like signal like when they should do it and stuff like that. And like, but basically the whole society with this point was like fucked. Like there was like it was fucked like straight up like I don't even know how to describe it. Basically, like sex slavery was like rampant. Like one of the main characters is named Oryx, and she's basically a girl that the two main characters, Crake and Snowman, basically found online on a CP website, and they basically were just like jerking off to like this person, and one day or Crake becomes a really powerful member of a CEO and basically hunts down this child, now adult, that he used to jerk off to, and basically hired her for his organization. Is like kind of like a figurehead.
Wow.
And
This sounds like a mess.
yeah, the whole entire book is just about like capitalism gone to like the most heights of like pure dystopia, just like
Accelerationism.
accelerationism to like the pure extent, just like everything just gone to like hell on earth, and like a bunch of technologies like spider silk being woven into bulletproof vests, a bunch of
Nanotech.
nanotech, like
Gene tech.
yeah, gene splicing, like engineering pigs and humans together, and like raccoon dogs and stuff. Like all these things she predicted, and they're like actually coming to fruition. And she like predicted them like 40 years ago. So like all this stuff, I'm like, damn, like it's happening, and I'm like, rip, that's the future. It's just
The future is now, old man.
Well, what's the name of the book? The book is called Oryx and Crake. It's really good. Here, I'll go and grab it, find out the name of the author.
Can you still hear me on your headset? Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
Okay, I gotta go to the bathroom break.
Right on. I'll take a smoke break then, and I'm gonna grab the book.
Jeez.
It's Margaret Atwood. Anybody who is curious. I'm sorry, I'm a bad teammate. It's just how it be. I'm going. Goodbye. I love you. Oyryx, and then Crake isn't Crake. Oryx and Crake.
Yo, I'm back. Brant, you there? Mm.
Contains milk. Lord Almighty. Testing 1, 2.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I got the book Orcs and Crick synopsis. Snowman known as Jimmy before mankind was overwhelmed by a plague is struggling to survive in a world where he may be the last human, and mourning the loss of his best friend, Crake, and the beautiful and elusive Oryx, whom they both loved. In search for answers, Snowman embarks on a journey, with the help of the green-eyed children of Crake, through the lush wilderness that was recently a great city, until a powerful corporation took mankind on an uncontrolled genetic engineering ride. Margaret Atwood projects us to a near future that is both all too familiar and beyond our imagination. And there's that old hag right there and predicting our demise.
Sounds brutal.
It is. It's just a fucked up book.
Yeah.
One of the main characters is literally born into sex slavery and sold off by her parents. Because
Yeah.
there's a whole entire village that's just what they do for their economy is just sell off children to rich people in order to survive.
I think dying would be preferable than doing that.
Yeah, basically.
I
So
mean, like, if that's what
explain
you
my-
have to, if that's what you have to do to survive, then maybe you shouldn't do it.
basically it's just like, wow, you need to literally give birth to children and sell them off as sex slaves. Wow, okay, maybe your life is not worth that level of suffering, just maybe.
Yeah, I think what you're doing is just
But that's an actual thing that occurs, like, in reality,
yeah,
and
yeah. I know
it's
it
only gonna get
sucks.
worse. So
Yeah,
I
you about to
tried.
play. You about to play some games?
Yeah, I'm playing Apex Legends. But yeah, like I told
Battle
my
royales.
yeah, I told my whenever I'm streaming, I call it zero sum game because that's what it is, just like fighting for nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I told my that's basically my last session of my psychiatrist. Now I have to go back to her because my antipsychotics are gonna be taken off if I don't have another session with her. So I'm like, fine, I guess I'll do it.
Give me the
But
drugs.
basically, but when it comes down to it, she basically said that I'm playing God by saying that there's some lives in the world that are just not worth living, that are just objectively so shitty, that are like people born in sex slavery and stuff
Oh,
like that.
that's what playing God is.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, yeah. To say that there's lives that you wouldn't want to live if you had the choice.
Yeah, I'm just like these people are just better off dead. I'm like if objectively speaking, like if there was a button where you could push it and just they would disappear from existence, no pain, nothing, they wouldn't even know what happened. You should push the button,
There's no reason ethically not to.
and she's like, no, you're playing God. I'm like, I'm not playing God. I'm playing moral agent. I'm being a person who has empathy and has choices to make. And she's like, that's not what you're doing. And I'm like, okay,
Oh, yeah,
what the fuck?
it sounds like a blue pillar pro-lifer to me. It's like, and it's like, isn't it like, okay? So if her argument is that you're playing God, it's like, isn't God the source of all good? Like that argument falls on its face too. It's just like, well, God, it's like, are you pro God or is she an atheist? Or it's like,
Oh, she was deeper like Christian and stuff,
yeah.
but
So it's
like,
like, but like, yeah, it's like, would you want to be the sex slave? No, I wouldn't want to be the sex slave. Do you want to be the war vet who comes home and his friends are dead and he stepped on an IED and he has no legs and his wife left him and his kids hate him? No, you don't want to be that guy. It's just like speaking up for this one thing is just like the weirdest thing because it's like that's what the line is just like morality objectively or anything else go. It's literally like anything goes versus this one thing. It's weird.
basically, it's insane. Like you're just trying to convince people that like
It's
just not bring
it's
people into
it's
existence, and
it's
they're just like,
very
I
very it's
rather.
well, yeah, I want to do that anyway. It's like you don't even benefit from doing it. You know what I mean? You don't even personally benefit from it, from doing the thing. We're asking people not to do something, not to do something. We're asking them to not do something, and it's like that's too much. People are gonna do what they're gonna do. Fucking weird.
Yeah, it's just disheartening, my dude. Like, I
Oh
don't know.
yeah, yeah.
Like, you can't even. I don't know. Like, it's like my best friends and shit. Like, out. Like, they actually hear me out. They listen to me. They give me the time of day. They understand I'm not insane and shit. And well, like, not insane, like to the extent where I'm like delirious. Like, I'm insane in the sense that I have homicidal ideation and shit. But like, I'm not insane in the sense that I'm like incomprehensible. But it's just like why, like not even they can understand that like there's an actual objective fact that like suffering is a bad thing. Like one of my best friends, Max, he's like he thinks that people throughout history we can't judge them. We can't judge people in history like slave owners, people who have done committed genocide in the past, rape being
Why? Why?
normalized.
Why can't we judge them?
He's like, oh, it's just what was normal at the time, so therefore we can't judge the normal. And I'm like, but we can judge people in the Middle East. You judge people in the Middle East and think we should like basically glass the Middle East, right? And it's like, yeah, like that's because they're like in the time where it's modern like standards and stuff. Like they can look upon us and see. I'm like, yeah, but like pain has always existed. It's always been there. It's always been just as visceral. Like these people have always known that rape's been bad. They've always used it as a tactical way to demoralize the enemy. They've always used like these like tools to like put people down. Like these things are been known to be bad. Like we can judge them. He's like, no, it's just normal at the time. So it's just like not even like my best friends can like empathize with like what being explained to by like someone that they genuinely trust and care about. So it's just like, what the fuck? Like, how are we supposed to like get this through to like complete strangers who think we're like lunatics, like and shit? Like,
Yeah,
I,
I don't know. It's like the futility of it, but it's like you know that you should, but I don't know. It's
basically,
weird. It's weird. It's just like it's like how do I even understand? It's like oh, then the argument is like oh, suffering builds character. It's like, but you didn't need to make the character in the first place. Like we're all going to the same place. We're all going to the grave. So why even make a character like we're already here, so we can make the best of it if possible. But there's no reason to drag someone else here. It just doesn't. Me. It's just preaching to the choir, and that's essentially what church is. I mean, it's like people are in church. They already agree. Like, I don't understand the point of going to church. It's just like you go to hang out with people who think the same as you. But the problem is the other people who don't think the same. That's what the problem is.
basically, that's why I was always confused when I was Christian. I was like, why? Like the issue is people going to hell. Like, right? Like, if you believe in God, you don't need to be in a church. You just need to believe in the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. So it's like, when I was Christian, I was like, why should I go to church and do all this stuff when I'm already saved? Well, there's all these people out here that are damned to hell. Like, we should be more concerned about them than like this boat like church religion. Praise be, donate to
Yeah.
some like pastor guy. It's like that's why when I became like atheist, it was a really fast transition. I was like, none of this makes sense. Like even when I was Christian, like, I didn't understand why other Christians behaved the way they did. So it's just like, I don't know, man. The whole world's topsy fucking turvy. Like nothing makes sense. Like no one
Yeah.
follows the preachings of their own supposed God to like love their neighbor and shit. Like at the same time, they'll follow the parts of the Bible that are like Leviticus, like gay marriage is a sin and all that. But at the same time, the Old Testament's been like revoked and stuff. Like all from the person, all from the same person. Like the same person will say that the Old Testament's revoked, and at the same time they'll say that like being gay is a sin. So it's just everything's fucked.
Yeah. It'd really be like that.
It really do be. So black pill and love. You believe in love. A lot of people don't believe in love these days, especially if
I
they're
know
atheists.
I know love exists.
Same, my dude. I've experienced it. And it hurts. It hurts like a bitch.
Oh yeah, it's probably one of the worst non-physical pains.
It's just weird how people market like love, like capitalism is fucking such a
Oh
hellhole that people like
yeah,
market
capital.
it and
Yeah, and lust.
sex. Yeah, like you can't even have a conversation with a woman these days about like stipulating on the fact that there might be a fucking sex worker if it's online or if it's
Yeah, that's weird too. It's like I don't know if she has an OnlyFans or she's a Twitch girl. Can't tell, so can't tell. Like, does she lick microphones when she's at home? It's like, hey, I mean, she's not hurting anybody, but also like, I really wouldn't want my girlfriend to be her job is licking microphones.
basically. And if you say that, somehow you're looked at as like insecure or a beta or something.
Toxic masculinity,
Yeah,
insecure.
basically.
Yeah, it's like
Like,
I don't want my girlfriend to be a sex worker. It's like, oh, if you respect, like, Andrew Tate gets a lot of slack, but he says some things that are actually based in truth. But he just doesn't say all of it. But it's like, if it's my girlfriend, then I'm responsible for her. You know what I mean? It's like I'm gonna take care of her. It's my girlfriend. If she's not my girlfriend, then there's no responsibility. So like I don't, you know what I mean? It's like sex work. It's like the oldest profession, you know, but it's also kind of like the laziest. You know what I mean? It's like you're kind of doing what should be recreational for money because you can't figure out how to do anything else. It's kind of brain dead. And but that's like that, you know, don't work hard, work smart kind of thing. So I get it, you know what I mean? It makes sense, but it's also like it seems like every girl online, at least almost every girl online, is a scammer or a prostitute. You
Yeah,
know,
man. Like you cannot talk to women. Like I lead like I'm just searching for casual sex or love or whatever the fuck, and it's like here's my OnlyFans. You can talk to me here, and I'm like, why
uh,
can't I talk to you like right here? Like you just responded to my message 2 seconds ago. Like you clearly can respond right here. You're like, yeah, but if you truly love me, you'll show your dedication through. And I'm like, I don't know what version of love you experienced, but like mine
I
isn't.
just met you. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's
Or
like it
they'll,
just met you. It's like I'm not spending $20 on you, and it's like even if I was like even if I knew you for like 10 years, like that's not how you express love as being like, oh yeah, here's $20, ho, hop on my
yeah,
dick.
it's fucking weird, man. It's really sad. I don't want it to be like that, but then like you know, cold approaching. I don't know how much experience you have with cold approaching, but that's also just like you know, I cold approached like maybe a month or two ago, and she's like, "Yeah, I just moved here. I'm not looking for someone." It's like, what are you doing with your life if you're not looking for love? Like I
Pretty
don't
much.
like I don't understand what else there is to do besides get high and go skydiving. Okay, it's just like what do you mean? It's just like you're working at a fucking cash register and you just moved to this new town and you're not looking. It's like, oh, you know why you're not looking? Because you can have it whenever you want. You know what I mean? It's like when she feels like having someone, she can just go online and it'll just be like her DMs. She can just scroll through her DM options.
You know, it's actually really fucking sad because you know what's really like these two girls that have a these two girls that I basically asked to hook up with recently said, yeah, I'm interested because I'm not a bad looking dude.
No, no, no.
But the instant I started kind of talking to them, like they weren't available to hook up in that exact moment. Like in that exact moment, they were like, "Yeah, horny mode engaged. Like this man's proposing sex to me. I'm gonna hop on this and say yes." But not right away because they're a little bit busy.
Yeah, of course, because
But
they can have it whenever they want. Yeah. So
here's the thing, though. Like they didn't realize, I guess, that they had like that markability still of like attractiveness because they just like were slightly insecure, I guess. But the instant apparently I said that, like I'm on dating apps and shit, all of a sudden out of nowhere, it's just like they start ghosting me, and all of a sudden out of nowhere, I just notice their profile appear on the dating app, and I'm just like, what the fuck is this? So I just boosted their confidence, and they're like, oh, thank you, all this shit, and I'm like, so I basically just boosted their confidence enough to like make them be like, I'm a bad bitch, and I can get a better man than him. This is like,
yeah,
what the hell is this
yeah,
world?
the power mind games. It's like you pretty much have to like only be interested in sex, but not care about them emotionally. But they want you to. But then when you do, they don't care about you, and then it's like
I was
when you're
talking to her up and shit too. It's just like, yeah, like being like, yeah, like it's really cool that you have like an English major and like you're passionate about teaching people like this like language. Like it's not really something I value, but like when it comes down to it, like I think it's really cool that you care about that to like that extent and stuff. Like I'm talking like an actual fucking human being, and she's just like, nah, I'm
yeah.
gonna go get dick somewhere else, ho. Like it's like what the fuck?
Yeah, it's weird. Being direct, being indirect, being misdirecting, being like duplicitous, and you know, like it's sad. It's sad. Oh, I'm getting sad.
I'm sorry, homie.
No, it's not your fault, but it's just like it sucks. It really do be sucks. It really, really sucks. Cause like man, it's just like believing in love and like wanting love or knowing love exists is just like it almost seems like love for them, a man's love is like the most worthless thing because how easy it is to get, you know. And it's like girls like to chase, it's like guys like to chase, it's just like the idea of like wanting is better than having. And it's like uh then there's just like all the fucking weird fights and disagreements, and like it just seems like it's incompatible. Like the only way men and women are compatible is sexually, but intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually, they're not. It's just I don't understand. Like women's sexual marketplace value decreases with age, but men's goes up if they take care of themselves. But it's like I don't want to be an ATM, I don't, and it's like I don't know. And like, man, the conversations I have with girls are just awful. You know what I mean? Like, really, actually, like looking back in my memory of conversations I've had, conversations with my mom suck. Like, my mom is boring to talk to.
It's
You
true.
know, it's just like they're like I'm thinking about like if they're good looking, they don't really need to have a personality, which is kind of like a setback in the long run.
They're always just talking shit and stuff. Like I don't know. Like I never had like an intellectual conversation about like anything that really matters. It's just kind of like drama and like talking about things that's bad of their life. And I'm like, okay, cool, I guess.
Yeah,
I'll
or a single
empathize with it, but like
a
I
single
don't
word
care.
reply, a single word reply. Yeah. Like I
I
don't want to
mean,
be like I don't want to be like that. You know what I mean? It's just like I don't want to be boring. But it's like if I was boring, would it be easier to get girls? Yeah.
it would be though because the way Scott makes it sound like is like you're just supposed to let them talk, but like they don't talk about fucking anything that's like remotely interesting. Like
Yeah. But that makes it easier to not really have to pay attention, I guess, right? You just have to like say yeah, sometimes.
I
But
mean, I do that shit all the time with like my guy friends when they're talking about like stuff, and I let them nerd out, But like when it comes down to it, like doing that with like women about like and stuff like that, it's like I could do that, but like
it doesn't feel real, does it?
it doesn't feel real. Like I mean,
Yeah.
like
It
my
feels wrong.
friends,
It would like, I don't understand how Scott or Perpetual Pleasurist does it. It's like sex can't be worth knowing what you're doing to get it. To me, like it's like what you're doing is a mechanical operational motion and like a parody of a human being just to get
yeah,
sex. It's like that's essentially what it seems like. It's a mechanical
yeah,
parody
and
of
it's
of
just like, and if
ugh.
they knew you were doing it too, they wouldn't want to have sex with you. So it's just kind of like if they knew you were being the robot to get the sex, they wouldn't want to have sex with you. So, but you had to put on this
But then like
fucking show.
why do they respond to robot behavior? But they don't want to. It's like this like you can't know that you're. But Scott is like seemingly successful from what he says. From what he says,
Yeah,
he's successful pretending to be Pinocchio, but he's talking to us like he's not. And I'm like, how can sex with them be worth it if you have to not be yourself essentially?
yeah,
You know?
exactly. Like I don't get it from just like that perspective because I wouldn't want to be a false me. I wouldn't feel like it's worth it. I feel like I'd just be like, you're not fucking Brant. You're fucking like some like facade. And like I want them to be pleased with me, not with some fake thing. It's like I might as well just jerk off.
Yeah.
At least I'm not like having to put on like a little like puppet dance, for the person.
Do you think that they do that too though? Do you think girls also do the robot thing to us? I mean, it's like
Maybe.
what is the black pill conversation like from two hot chicks? It's like if you and me were chicks, it's like I don't think either of us are bad looking dudes. I think you're a good looking dude. I think I'm a good looking dude. But it's like if
Yeah.
we were hot chicks, what's the black pill equivalent from the chick point of view? Where it's like I don't conceptualize relationships with money or status or vehicles or jobs or ambition or status or purpose or frame. It's like, is she interesting and loyal? Is she pretty? Yes. Okay. I think I told you this before, or I told this to somebody. It's just like there's like only three things. There's like, okay, is she pretty? Then X amount of guys will just jump on the pretty girl. And then there's like level 2 is okay, so she's pretty and she's loyal. Well, fuck, well, I don't need anything else. And there's pretty, loyal, and then smart. And it's like, well, I don't really want to go up for. It's like, what could you ask for more besides those 3 things? Pretty, loyal, and smart. The guys who just want sex will take the pretty ones. The guys who want love will take the pretty and loyal ones. And the intellectual ones will take the pretty, loyal, and intelligent ones. But it's like, that's all it really is for a guy, for me. But it's like, well, from like what the red pill and black pill ideology is saying is that girls are the most superficial, shallow, boring, uninteresting, horrible things ever because like they want kids after their 30s. They have like the baby craze. They want to settle down after they're a hoe, and they use their sexual like allure for like the party phase. They don't have long-term planning. They're boring at conversation. They're not interesting. But then the alternative of that is like all the hot Twitch girls playing games. But it's like, well, when I was a kid, there was not hot chicks playing games. There was a couple, but it wasn't like, it's like they're using the nerd culture as a cash out now, you know? So it's like, I don't know what it would be like to be a hot girl and have that much power and influence and to be able to get any man you want. Yeah, being a man, it's like being a being sucks. So anyway, I was rambling.
No, it's completely fair. I mean, like, I think like the black pill for a woman is just basically looking at like, not even black pill because it's they're not right, but the closest you can get to a black pill for a woman is, I guess, kind of looking at like the incels, I guess, and all the people that like in the Sims that like just kind of like look at like Twitch people and be like,
Yeah.
and I guess
Cucks.
looking, cucks and stuff, and just being like,
Beta bucks.
why aren't they going for me? But at the same time, there are men who will go for them. Like there are desperate enough men. They just don't want those men either. So it's just like, so it's not. So it's like even them. It's like they're just not looking in the right places because like I fucked a chick who weighs like 100 like 50 pounds more than me like a couple like a week ago, and then she texted me like the next day being like, oh hey, I went to the doctor and I got like a chlamydia test and I came back positive. You should get tested because like
Holy shit.
men can have it dormant in them for like a long period of time. So you may have gave it to me, and I was like, oh shit, And so I got tested, and it came back negative, thank God.
Wow.
So I'm not the one that gave it to her. She just had it because she was like a hoe, I guess, or whatever, and she wanted to blame it on me. But when it comes down to it, like,
That's sad.
I'm willing to fuck some chick that has chlamydia and is like 50 pounds more than me because I'm just some lonely bastard out here and I'm not even that bad looking. So like these chicks can get like whatever they want whenever the fuck they want. So it's
it has
just like,
it has less value though. Like
yeah,
because of that, it has less value. And like the only thing that they can, it's seemingly they're able to quantify has more value is a man with more money. It's like that's quantifiable, but like intelligence or morality or quote unquote spirit or soul, it's not quantifiable. So that's like the problem. It's like you and me are getting overlooked because you can't quantify the intangible things. Well, money is a physical thing that you can see the results of, you know?
yeah. And back when I was making good money, I didn't ever flash it either. So it's just like,
Yeah.
like when you're like my brother, he gets women, but that's because and the women to look at him and shit. But that's because he wears like Supreme and like everything that like his outfit weighs like his outfit like is like worth more than most people make like
That's
in a
it.
paycheck. Like it's just like $1,000, $2,000. Like some of
It
this
seems like
outfit,
it's like a peacock, like with the feathers. That's all it is.
basically.
That's all it is. Just like I don't want the kind of woman who would even be attracted to that. Like that's like if that works, it's like that's like all the kind of that's all he wants is a girl to fuck like Scott. but it's like I don't know, man. It's just like I don't want something so superficial, but it seems like it's easier to get, but not as long lasting and fulfilling. Sad,
Yeah, Colin, I'm talking about you.
sad.
Yeah, Colin, I'm talking about you. Because you dress so clout, and it's just like, why you dress so clout, bro?
Because he can.
Because what? Hollywood? You gotta represent, he says. Okay.
He's an advertisement then.
Yep, he's basically an advertisement. For me, it's just simple. Like, if you want to be fashionable, just color block. Just match colors, wear things that you like that match colors, and you will be
Yeah.
fashionable. And that's it.
I just
enough.
wear things that I like. It's like if I like it, I wear it. I don't care about matching or not.
Fair enough.
Yeah. If it has to be like, is it hot? Is it cold? Like the temperature? That's pretty much it. Does it look cool? Does it not look cool? That's pretty much the only criteria. The money, it's like I don't care how much it costs. It's like it's like either reasonable or not. You know, it's like can I afford this? Can I not afford this?
But yeah, my brother's a fucking character. He is a manipulative son of a bitch. That's for sure.
What to you or to women to the ladies?
Ladies.
Well, I mean, it's odd. It's like it's weird because it sounds like what Scott does. Like, isn't that like kind of like the mechanical human parody thing?
Yeah, it's like that, but like
Gaslighting.
targeting depressed or like
Oh
bigger
my god!
women or like stuff like that. Like people who are
Holy
like,
shit!
people who are like not exactly going to be secure about themselves, and so therefore are, like more easily to stick with him, I guess.
Yeah,
Stuff like that.
that happened to me. That happened to me with a girl. A girl did that to me and my brother.
That's scummy, man.
Yeah, it's like they're like fucking emotional vampires. It's not. I don't even think it's about the sex for them. I think it's about like the domination or destruction of someone's emotional well-being.
It really is. It's my dad walking around the background.
But I guess like when you're able to have whoever you want, and you can't legally get away with murder, so I guess like emotional murder is like the next best thing, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just fucked up though.
Always
People
is. Always
playing.
will be.
He's always been like that though, playing mind games with women like since he was like in middle school. And I'm like, what the fuck?
It's weird how some people just automatically understand how that kind of thing works. And like being honest is almost like a disadvantage.
Basically, like being yourself is just
Oh yeah, don't do that.
don't do that. Even Scott says don't be yourself, and I'm like, I don't know, man. Like honestly, I've found someone who's they weren't attracted to me because I was partially myself, but not enough myself. I feel like if I would have been fully myself, they might have actually been attracted to me, but I was like an exaggerated version of myself that and a little bit more of like I exaggerated some like my worst features. And I feel like that kind of scared the person off a little bit. But either way, it didn't really matter in the end. They fell in love with someone else, but it really do be. But when it comes down to it, like yeah, once you find someone that actually cares for you for being you, you kind of are like, yeah, like fuck what Scott's saying, like to a certain extent. Like I
Yeah,
think he's
I
right,
understand.
but I don't think
I
it's
understand
worth it.
that. I understand what you're saying, and yeah, I don't think what Scott's method is right. And I understand what you're saying when you find someone that actually cares about you for who you are and the right reasons. It's like I think at my point, like my personal journey, I wouldn't trust them. If there
Hmm.
was some girl who actually was like genuinely sweet and everything, I'd be like, there's no fucking way that you're legit. There's not a chance that you're not gonna fucking betray me at this point.
No, that's fair. I mean, she's definitely backstabbed me a couple fucking times and used my emotions against me and lied to me. But I don't know, part of me that thinks that she still genuinely cared to some extent. But even the women, yeah, you know, when it comes down to people with borderline personality disorder, are fucking wild. So
I never understood what borderline personality disorder was until a few months ago when I actually like listened to something about it. It's like the term myself, I guess, was a little bit misleading. Borderline. It's like, it's weird. It's a whole thing, but
yeah, she had borderline personality disorder, dissociative stuff. Not dissociative identity disorder, but she had like dissociation stuff.
dissociation and disassociation and depersonalization ones are rough.
Yeah, she would depersonalize a lot, dissociate. She had like psychotic episodes. She had like homicidal ideation, like I did do.
Those are all
She
seemingly more. I could probably deal with all of those, except for just cheating and being a whore.
Yeah, like I could deal. I was deeply in love with her. Like I cared about her, and I could have dealt with all that stuff. And she was never the type of person to cheat. So like she was like genuinely like ideal for me as like a person. But like she just didn't trust me because well I'm me. Like I'm kind of like a psychopath of sorts. And she's just when you're borderline, it's hard to open your up yourself to people. And
Mhm.
I'm basically openly a person who's not worthy of trust fully, like you know, like just like how you said that about yourself, like you're like
Yeah,
you shouldn't even trust me. I'm openly like yeah, I'm a psychopath. Like you can trust me to some extent or another because I don't like lying, and I'm honest about the fact that I don't like lying, but at the same time I'm still a psychopath. Like I'm really good at lying if I want to. so
yeah,
it's like so it's like she never could really open up to me, and she fell for a dude that was super manipulative, was the guy that she wanted, but wasn't really anybody at all. You know what I mean? Like he was just a hollow being that just like filled the void to get sex and love to just, you know, be that dude for her. And it was just like, in the end, she got torn apart by him. Like, you know, it's like,
yeah.
it's just a rough fucking world.
Meat grinder.
Meat grinder, indeed. But yeah.
Yeah. You want to end it there? I was thinking about playing some video games.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it here as well. That's probably a good spot to end it on. A little depressive note.
On a sad note.
On a sad boy note, make everybody realize that life is pain right before we end it.
Yeah. I'm gonna send you that flat Earth documentary.
Awesome, thank you.
All
I'll
right.
give it a watch.
All right. I'll talk to you later, man.
Take care, Rita.
Peace, peace.
Ciao. Yeah, I'll end it here.